Ever since the announcement of Spider-Man 2 all the way back in 2021, along with the reveal trailer that was released as well, needless to say, I've been hyped as hell to play this game. The gameplay accompanied by the story just make for an ultimate combo, which is why I believe that PlayStation will always be the #1 single player game releasers. And I really gotta say, it was such a blessing to be able to experience it because this game just has so much in it, from fan service to mechanics. But just like any form of media or pop culture, this game has its pros and its cons. And today, I'm gonna talk about them. At the time of recording this, I kinda platinum the game in under 2 days, which I will get into later, but spoiler warning of course, if you haven't played the game, I highly recommend that you experience for yourself or watch some sort of let's play, because this game has a lot of shit in it that's so dope. So how this video is gonna go is I'm gonna start off with the cons and then I'm gonna go on to the pros, which, spoiler alert, there aren't that many cons. But in terms of cons, they're pretty damn big, and I'm really surprised that they're cons to begin with. So that being said, I would say the first con of this game has to be the fact that there are no replayable missions. Yep, that's right. Every single time that you do a mission, you cannot go back to it after you've completed it. So don't be like me and sort of take them for granted thinking that you can play them by the end of the game, because you can't. And if you want to play a specific mission again, like for example, one mission that I really enjoyed a lot was the Venom mission where you play as Venom, which is so dope as hell. But the mission where you could play as Venom, you can't go back to that because there is no replayable missions. So what I would have to do in order to play it again is to create a whole new save file, play through the story, which by the way this mission is near the end of the story, play through that whole thing again in order to do it again. It baffles me the fact that they didn't add replayable missions, because both Spider-Man 1, PS4 and Miles Morales both had replayable missions inside of it. And this goes per side quest also. You cannot replay any side quest, so you can't do any of the symbiote nest, you can't do of any Marco's memory crystals, and you can't even do any of the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man quest either. This is so upsetting to me because number one, after you beat the game and 100% it, you literally can't do anything else except for random crimes on the street, and that's it. So you can't really do any more stealth missions or see the dope cutscenes that you see throughout the story. This game has so many crazy moments that I just want to get straight to instead of just playing through the game again, and you just can't do that unfortunately. And a thing that sucks about having to start a new save file is that you lose everything. Which brings me on to my next point. There is no New Game Plus. For those who aren't familiar with what New Game Plus is, essentially your data from the original save file would be transferred over to a new save file, so when you start a new game again, you have all your abilities, all your costumes, instead of having to unlock it all over again. Plus some added on abilities and other stuff as well. And again, it really leaves me in awe the fact that they didn't add a New Game Plus in the base game, mainly because the past 2 games literally had a New Game Plus. Now, to be fair, I'm not too pissed about it, mainly because supposedly from a tweet that I read that they're updating the game by the end of the year that's gonna add in a New Game Plus and allow you the ability to replay missions. So all around, it's a W. But still, why wasn't this in the base game again? But moving on, I would have to say the next con, in my opinion at least, has to be the fact that you can't change the time of day or weather. Throughout Spider-Man, there are plenty of impactful moments, such as Peter going on an unknowing rampage due to the symbiote, or even the moment when Peter was trying to get the symbiote back from Kraven. The rain in that level really made it impactful and really showed that this wasn't exactly Peter, but the symbiote really impacted his mood. But the night sky accompanied by the rain just gave off such a dope aesthetic. Not to mention the music that played in the background, which I'm not gonna risk playing to get copyright striked, but it was just perfect. But if you want to experience that again, you just can't without making a brand new save file and playing through the whole game again up until that point. But moving on to the next one, I have to say this isn't really that big of an issue because of the quality of the game was so high, but I'm not sure if it was only me, but the length of the game did not seem that long. For what the reviewers said on IGN, there is approximately 19 to 20 hours worth of gameplay. Now, I'm not entirely sure if I was just playing too fast, but it really did not feel like that whatsoever. After doing some basic math, I counted exactly 100 missions in the game that you can do, 31 of those being main story missions. Again, I don't know, it may have just been me, but this game felt really short. I feel like some of the missions inside this game weren't as exciting compared to Miles Morales and Spider-Man PS4. I gotta say, one of the missions that I really felt like this with had to have been the unidentified target missions. Inside of these, what they have you do is fly after those robot birds that you fight throughout the game and essentially collect data by flying inside the same path that they make, and they occasionally throw out obstacles that you have to dodge. And that was basically it in terms of those missions. It had a whole subplot to it, but it really wasn't that interesting. But furthermore about missions, there are no post-game ones. This may have not sucked for a lot of people, but it did for me because I'm a completionist when it comes to video games. So each time before I went to a main mission, I did all the side missions that were available at the time, not knowing that number one, I can't go back to them, and number two, there are no post-game missions, which I was really surprised they didn't have. And I don't mean to sound like a broken record, but both previous games had post-game missions. Because of that, once I beat the game, I was really bored because there was nothing really to do except for fighting crimes. And since you can't replay missions, that's literally the only thing you can do. That and maybe swing around the city, but that's really about it. And again, I'm not sure if it was just me, but those are the things that just bugged me during the game and at the end of the game. Okay, so with that out of the way, I can finally get on to the pros, which there are quite a few. And I'm only picking the best things because if I were to name every single thing I liked about the game, this video would be a lot longer than it is. So just to start jumping into things, I have to say the number one thing that I liked about this game has to be the characters. Whether it be our two beloved protagonists or side characters that were introduced throughout the story, I gotta say Insomniac really did well in inclusion with characters. One of the characters that I feel like was such a cool inclusion has to have been Scream. For such a tiny little plot point, it was so nice to see that character. Because the last time I've seen Scream in any form of Marvel media was a Spider-Man ride in Universal, Florida. For those who don't know who Scream is, she is essentially the daughter of Venom. And unlike this time where they made Mary Jane the host, inside the comics, Donna Diego is the actual host of Scream. And even though we couldn't see an Insomniac version of Donna Diego, it was still such a cool inclusion to bring Scream inside of it. Going further in with symbiotes, the inclusion of Cletus Cassidy as the leader of the Flame was also dope as hell. I was very disappointed in myself because I didn't realize who it was till the reveal, but the orange hair was such a dead giveaway, and also the fact that he was the leader of the Flame, which is a cult. Which, for those who don't know, inside the comics, Cletus Cassidy has a cult himself. It's called the Cult of Null, from what I see on Google, but needless to say, it was such a cool inclusion. Moving on, I have to say something that I really loved about this game so much was the cinematic feeling of it. Like, I don't know about you guys, but there's so many moments that I had where I was like, am I watching a movie or am I playing an actual game? From the cutscenes to the finishers and overall animations of how the game looked, I gotta say they really outdone themselves, because I really thought the best it would get was Miles Morales, but they definitely proved me wrong with this game. But going more into animations, I have to say the combat in this game, all of its animations with its abilities, they just look so good. From the finishers all the way to the Venom abilities, like they just look so good. And don't get me wrong, some of them are copy and pasted from the previous game, but I don't know how or why, or if it's again just me, but some of them just look better than they used to. And overall, just swinging in this game and traversing around the city, along with the inclusion with web wings, just feels so nice. I know the glazing is kind of crazy right now, but trust me, this game just looks so stunning. And people may not be as crazy as me when it comes to this, but I am really at all the fact that they really let you play as Venom inside of this. Like, it was unexpected up until the point where Spider-Man gets thrown to the side by Venom, and then you see all the Oscorp guards blocking Venom's way, and I knew from right there that we're gonna play as Venom. Like, it was so hype. And unfortunately, I can't go back to that level at the moment unless I start a whole new save file. But I'm just saying, whether it be the DLC or maybe the next update, but please make Venom playable in the overworld. And I know it's unrealistic given the fact that Venom gets destroyed at the end of the game, but I'm just saying, a free roaming Venom and you're able to play as him, like, that would be the best feeling ever. And it wouldn't entirely be that hard to do it because they already made, like, basically the whole character inside that mission. The only thing they would have to do is maybe give him a climb so he can climb up buildings and maybe a web swing. But overall, if any devs watch this, or, you know, if you really want Venom as like a free roaming character, bro, please send this out to Insomniac. Please make Venom a free roam character. It would be so heat. I will get on my knees and beg.
Is this nigga serious?
Another thing that I really enjoyed about the game, especially in the overworld, were the team-ups you can do with crime. Inside Spider-Man PS4 and Miles Morales, team-ups were typically a one-time thing that could only occur during the story. But inside Spider-Man 2, team-ups can happen anytime you do a crime. And it's not only limited to Peter or Miles, you can also team up with the likes of Yuri, who turns out to be Wraith, or even Harry before he loses the symbiote. If there's anything I like to see in video games are character dialogues, especially when it's two completely random characters. So being able to see Miles interact with Yuri and even Harry at times is just so cool. Not to mention, after the crime is over, you can always interact with the person that you fought with. For example, check out this interaction between Miles and Peter.
Fight pieces on me.
Yup, it's the meme. I can go on and on about everything that I love about this game, like the costumes, which were done so well. Like, some of them are just repeats from the previous game, but my two favorite costumes from Miles and Peter are definitely the Best There Is suit and the City Sound suit for Miles, and for Peter has to be the Arc Knight suit or the Civil War suit. Again, I think all the costumes look great. An honorable mention would probably be a lot of the Into the Spider-Verse costumes, which were done perfectly. And I don't know about you guys, but the little effect they do where they lower the frame rate on the characters, I think it just looks better in this game. I don't know what they did, but it just looks better. And the best part, it can literally be on any character that you want it to be. So it's not only limited to characters from Into the Spider-Verse movies. But going more further into the Spider-Verse and Across the Spider-Verse, there's a side mission that you can do where you have to collect all the spider bots around the city, and they're unique in a way where essentially each spider bot is designed as a character that you see throughout the series. And if you successfully collect all the spider bots, you get this cool little cutscene where this random portal opens up, which looks exactly like the ones from Across the Spider-Verse, and this girl named Dahlia takes all the spider bots from you. And she brings up Miguel, saying that say hi to Miguel for her.
And if Miguel comes looking for these, tell him finders keepers.
Wait, who's Miguel?
That was a pretty cool Easter egg that they added in, mainly because that Dahlia could most likely be a possible character in the next movie, but we will see. For the last thing I want to talk about, through the post-credit scenes. And needless to say, they were cool as hell. There were 3 of them to be exact, but to start off with the first one, we see Harry in a bed and Norman Osborn stressing about him being inside of a coma, which he then proceeds to pull out his phone and calls some random unidentified person and demands them for the G serum.
Get the G serum ready.
Which, from what it looks like, Norman is going to try and inject Harry with the G serum. Now, for those who don't know what the G serum is, it's essentially what gives Green Goblin his powers. In some iteration, Norman is the Goblin, in some iterations, Harry's the Green Goblin. But it seems as if Harry may actually be the Green Goblin inside the next game, or even the DLC. Which, I know I'm kind of going too far into it, but bro, if we have that, this means that technically the Green Goblin would be good, unless it makes him corrupted like it does in all the other iterations of him. But having a playable Green Goblin would be so sick, because flying around on his glider, bro, like, I know I'm getting too far into it, but just imagine with me. But for the third post-credit scene, it seems as if Norman Osborn wants to get revenge on both of the Spider-Man. So essentially what he does is he goes back to Raft where Doc Ock is being held and essentially makes amends with him and wants to destroy both Spider-Man with the help of Doc Ock, because Norman blames both of them for the condition that Harry is in at the moment. Doc Ock, sitting inside of his chair writing something, gets up and Norman asks him what he's writing, and Doc Ock exclaims, "The final chapter."
What are you writing?
The final chapter.
So from the looks of it, it looks like there will most likely be another game, but it will most likely be the last one, unfortunately. And so for the last final post-credit scene, so we can wrap up this video, and is my personal favorite. So throughout the story, Rio Morales, who is Miles' mom, talks to Miles about the fact how she's starting to date again and how she's found a new boyfriend. Unfortunately, we couldn't see him throughout the story, but at the end we were finally able to see him, and needless to say, the reveal was so hype. So Miss Morales ends up inviting her boyfriend and her boyfriend's daughter over for dinner. So after we see Miles and Haley have their moment, we end up hearing a knock on the door, in which everyone goes to answer it to see them for the first time. And then the best part comes. It turns out that Miss Morales' boyfriend is Albert Moon and his daughter is Cindy Moon.
Meet you. Oh, and this is my daughter, Cindy.
Now Albert Moon, not that important. But for those who don't know who Cindy Moon is, she is basically another version of Spider-Man named Silk. Like, bro, this is just peak fiction in the writing, bro. Like, this is such a crazy twist, bro. I nearly jumped out of my seat when I saw it for the first time. But I can already imagine what a playable Silk would be like, bro. Like, I just can't wait. Like, she might either be inside the DLC or inside the next game they may make. Most likely the next game, but I wish they would add her inside a DLC maybe. But that brings us on to the question, is Spider-Man 2 worth it? And I have to say, yes, 100%. I gotta say it's worth all the $70 that you spend on the game. Sure, there are a few things that I didn't like about the game, but as a wise person once said, good times outshine the worst, and that's exactly what this game did. But yeah, if I had to rate this game out of 10, I'd honestly give it a solid 9 out of 10. Again, there are a couple things that I didn't like about it, but all the good stuff really outshined the bad things. But yeah, that was essentially my review of the game. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Leave your opinion in the comments below, telling me about your opinion on Spider-Man. Like, what could they have added? What could they have done better? And yeah, I'll try and respond. But again, hope you guys enjoyed. And what am I missing? Oh yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe.